This is my first day working from home with my new job. The job is going well. So far, I haven't had a lot of work to do. So like this morning, I didn't have any work to do. So I just went on our LinkedIn Learning because we're connected to LinkedIn Learning. And I started watching all these videos on Excel, like tips and tricks. And Excel is so cool. Like, oh my gosh, like you can do so much stuff with Excel. And I'm understanding how to put formulas together and like what each thing means, like the parentheses and the commas and the semicolons. I have a meeting here in about 4 minutes that I have to attend. I don't really have to do anything besides just attend it. Baby boy, you stay on my mind. Baby boy, you stay on my mind. Did mess up one time earlier this week. I totally forgot I was supposed to shadow one of my coworkers. So now I have to shadow them on Monday. So that was a little mistake I made that I felt bad about, but then I didn't really care. And next week I work from home 2 days because I have appointments, a dentist appointment and a vision appointment. And so I asked if I could work from home those days and she said yes. So I'm very excited. Also, I'm trying to decide if I want to go out tomorrow night with Lauren to the hookah lounge that we like to go to. I went out last weekend, so part of me is like, no, I don't want to go again. But then a part of me is like, yes, I do want to go again. That's how it is every week. It's so hard to decide. And it's been about a month of me having this hair. I still love it. I think it's very cute. I'm trying to cover up my workplace name because it's on this shirt. That's a little bit too much information. Okay, so my coworker, she loves reading books, so she recommended me some thrillers to read, and I'm actually really excited to like look into them. So I'm gonna try to find them on my iPad on the I forget, there's this app connected to the local library. I forget what it's called, but like you can find books through there. So I'm gonna try to find the author in that little catalog. Yeah, I do. I just ate a burrito from Taco Takeout. Taco Takeout, not everything is good there, but the burritos, bomb as fuck. Okay, well, I'm gonna go now because my meeting starts in 5 minutes. Bye! Yup, we're back to this. Back to having short hair with the blonde tips. As you can tell, my hair has not grown. I'm not surprised. And me and Angel took out my hair yesterday night, which was actually a really like bonding experience. I'm at work right now, working from home, and I wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about supply chain. So supply chain management is basically everything that goes into getting products where they need to be. So like anytime you order something or you see stores that have like, you know, shelves stocked with items, it's because they ordered it from somewhere. Like some manufacturer is making it physically and then distributors are buying it, and distributors are basically like people who buy from manufacturers and they'll buy in bulk, and then from then retailers or smaller vendors will buy from the distributors in even smaller amounts, and then eventually those things get put into the stores, the storefronts that you see, or they can sometimes go straight from the manufacturer to the storefront, skipping the distributor. Sometimes it can skip the distributor step. Sometimes it never really goes from manufacturer to customer that quickly, but it can go from distributor to customer quickly. It can go to retailer to customer, just whatever. Basically, it's just this chain. That's why it's called supply chain. It's a chain of different entities that are purchasing from each other and selling to others. So supply chain management is made into many different factors. There's logistics, which is more so talking about the actual truck transportation of material, so shipping. And then there's procurement and strategic sourcing, which is finding out where we're gonna actually source our products from. And then there's buying and purchasing, which is literally placing purchase orders. And that's what you call it whenever you place an order with another company, you refer to it as a purchase order. There's also planning. So that can mean demand planning, supply planning, what's the other? Production planning, the material that you need, the equipment that is needed, and the time that is needed to make products. And except for demand planning. Demand planning is more so about like the future and what we think people are going to want, and so we can plan to make that much. Yeah, I really enjoy supply chain. I feel like it's very organized, repetitive work. And that's what I like to do. I like to become confident in a consistent like pattern of work. that can be done. I'm getting hot. Ooh, I was getting hot. It got cold this last week randomly. Like it rained a lot and then it got cold. I've got some packages on the way. First, I ordered an Apple Watch. Now you might think, Asia, why would you order an Apple Watch? You only make so much money per year, which is in the 40,000s, which I'm not gonna name specifically, but it's in the 40,000s. So why would you buy an expensive Apple Watch? First, I did not buy the most latest series, which is Series 10. I bought a Series 6 Apple Watch, so it's much cheaper. And two, my company does this thing where it reimburses you up to 50% for any type of health and wellness item that you purchase, including Apple Watches. I'm really excited because I have new glasses on the way, a new Apple Watch, some new fake nails. Like I bought so many things in the past like month. I'm just so excited to get them. The cats have been sleeping all day. Well, Pepper in the beginning wasn't sleeping. He was being annoying, but then he slept for the rest of the day, so I'm very grateful for that. I'm finishing up work. I have 30 more minutes on the clock, but honestly, there's not any more work for me to do really. So I messaged my manager because I had a question about whether or not a PO had been fully received, but she hasn't responded or read it yet. So I'm just like, okay, I got nothing to do. Just looking at my email. But yeah, working in supply chain is great. There's so many different areas you can work in, and I feel like the harder ones are gonna be like demand planning, because you have to be like analytical and know like statistics and stuff like that, and it does pay more faster. But I will say all supply chain generally can get up there. Like the more you become manager or senior in your position, you can get up to 100K. You can even make over 100K if you go really high. I'm not sure how high I'll go. It just depends on like the skills I develop over the years, and like if I develop those skill sets and if I want to have that lifestyle. Because that's the thing, sometimes like the lifestyle, just like with most jobs, it can become more demanding of you, and I definitely don't want that. I love work-life balance, so I'm not trying to have a job that's taking that away from me. The first time I worked in supply chain, or even close to supply chain adjacent, I'll say, is when I worked at a food bank. I was in charge of getting different weekly meal packs out to the students that went to the schools in the local area. And so I had to coordinate a little bit with the warehouse, look at a warehouse management system, and determine, I see the FedEx truck, it's exciting me because I'm like, ooh, maybe I have a delivery. Like that, it wasn't really much exposure to supply chain. I didn't really learn much like terminology or like any of the like the ways things work. But then because of that, I was able to get a operations management trainee position with this other company. Very big company, nationwide. It's funny, they're a very big company, but they're not doing well. They do layoffs like all the time, and eventually I got laid off from the job. But there I did inventory management, so like things like scheduling cycle count, sometimes physically doing cycle counting just to see how it is myself. And that's when you take like the RF gun and you literally go and it'll populate what it wants you to count, and you have to count it and you have to get it accurate. If you don't, then it makes you count it again. What else did I do? I also did receiving and shipping. It was very simple. Receiving, you just open up the boxes and you look at the packing slip and make sure that the items on the packing slip match the items that are in the box, and you check it in based off the purchase order number, which I mentioned purchase order earlier, and basically everything is tracked based off the purchase order. Baby. So, ooh, he stinks. Why does this cat always kind of stink? But yeah, I did inventory management. I also did a lot of returns management. So anytime material needed to go back, I was keeping track of how we wanted it to go back. And I was in charge of assigning like a code, the credit that we were gonna give the customer, because you have to organize the returns into like the type of return it is so that we know why we're giving money back to the customer. And then we also had to figure out how to get money back from our vendor who we purchased it from. So I had to do that part too. So I had to make debits for that part. So yeah, I participated in like yearly cycle inventories, which when they say inventory, they mean going into the warehouse and everybody physically has to count everything and count it in about 2 or 3 rounds to make sure that everything that we say is there is actually there, and just get the accurate amount on hand. And it's pretty fun to do. It's hard work, it's sweaty because you're having to like get all up in these racks, and sometimes you have to use the I forget what the machines are called, but it's like little machines that the order picker machines. So you have to use those to go high up and count. But like, I never had to use an order picker. I just stayed on the ground levels for picking. And yeah, whenever I did picking, I just stayed on the ground levels. Picking is whenever you're going and actually picking up the items for the order and placing them on like your little cart or your order picker, and then you eventually take them over to the shipping area. Yeah, I really loved that job. It was nice, it was mentally stimulating. I always had like a bunch of credits each day to go through, resolve like random issues that would come up with our system, because I had access to certain things that the salespeople didn't have access to. So if the salesperson needed to like do something, I could give them access or help fix the problem. And that's all I really remember doing. Oh yeah, and I placed purchase orders and stuff like that. So placing purchase orders is not much to it. You just have to figure out the way you're shipping it, make sure you get the correct amount, the correct product. Just type it in and then ship it to the right, place it to the right vendor. That was fun, but it was a lot of pressure when I was doing that, because the manager for that aspect, it was a different manager for when I did the credit management versus the purchase orders. The manager for the purchase orders was not a people person, and he really lacked social skills, and he was just kind of rude. And so I did not like working underneath him, and he pressured me to be able to do 60 to 70 purchase orders a day, regardless of how many line items were on each purchase order. And line items just means lines, like regardless of how many items are on that one order. He wanted me to do 60 to 70 per day, like just like that. And so it took me like, I was in that group for like 2 months, and it took me a while to like get up to speed of the 60 to 70, because I was only hitting 30 and 40 a day. That 60 to 70 was hard, man. I would just stay glued to my computer. I would only get up to use the bathroom. I wasn't talking to nobody. I was just clickety clackety, and I did not like that. But placing purchase orders is not supposed to be like that. That's just the messy system that it was at my previous job. And now my current job, I work for, my previous job, they sold bath, kitchen, lighting, plumbing, and HVAC products. And so as the economy's gotten worse, you know, people aren't buying those types of products. I think that's why they had to do layoffs. And now I'm working for a medical technology and supply company. So we provide like lab kits for medical research and stuff like that, and then some technology. And so I'm helping with the supply chain aspect of whenever we're selling the physical like lab kits to the different people. I'm not on the side of it that's customer facing. I'm on the side of it that's facing the vendors that we get it, well, the manufacturers that we get it from, and the distributors that we get it from. And with that, so far my main responsibility has just been to get ETAs, because basically you have a bunch of shipments and purchase orders being placed every day, shipments coming in every day, and some going out. And I'm in charge of making sure that, because we call it an open ETA, we call it an open purchase order whenever the item has yet to be received to the warehouse. So we're waiting for the item to come to our warehouse so we can receive it in. And so I look at all the open purchase orders, and I follow up with the vendor and ask them, hey, do we have order confirmation? Do we have an estimated time of arrival? Because we want to just basically ensure that everything that we say is going to arrive here is actually going to arrive here. That type of stuff can slip through the cracks, because things will come up like a price discrepancy or a quantity discrepancy, and those discrepancies will cause the purchase order to never actually be like followed through. It'll just be placed on hold, and when it's placed on hold, that means we're never going to get it unless we resolve that issue. And so I can reach out to the vendor and say, hey, when's the ETA? They can tell me we haven't sent it because we have a pricing issue, and then I can notify the rest of my team and let them know, like, hey, this pricing issue needs to be resolved so that we can actually get this sent. Then I can get an ETA and we can eventually receive it in. I hope all this makes sense. I'm trying my best to explain this. I'm not a good explainer on camera. I'm trying my best to explain this in a way that makes sense to the layperson. But yeah, basically that's what I'm doing right now. I will take on more tasks as time goes on, because I'll be doing returns here too. So that means, when you do returns, you get to always request a return of material authorization. So it's an RMA, or it's called an RGA, return of goods authorization. And basically it's just you emailing the supplier or the manufacturer and being like, hey, can we return this, and how do we return it? And then they'll send you back like they'll send you back the information you need in order to return the item. So usually there'll be a number attached to the return. I forget what they call that number. I think it's just the RMA number, actually. It'll be an RMA number assigned to be attached to that return. They'll send you like a packing, not a packing slip, a freaking, like not a postage, what is it called? Like the UPS label, like a shipping label. They'll send you a shipping label. They'll have instructions. Sometimes they'll want you to send information about the item that you have that needs to be returned. Like, why are we returning it? They might want picture proof. So far, I'm enjoying the job. It takes me all day to do. There's always new POs that are open that I have to do the research on. And whenever you work in supply chain and you're doing research like this, you're usually working between a warehouse management system and an ERP system. Our ERP is called PeopleSoft. It's somewhat popular. Other ERP systems are like SAP and Oracle. At the past job, I didn't use SAP, Oracle, or PeopleSoft. I used some old school like 90s application called Trilogy. It was old, but it worked. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning or something like that. But basically it's the name for where it's what all businesses house all their information related to, like orders, purchases, invoices, and inventory. Like everything is in the ERP. And on the sales side of things, where you're giving orders out to customers, they'll use a CRM, which stands for Customer Resource Management. So far, I haven't had to use our CRM. I think we use Salesforce though. But like, I haven't had to use that because I'm not on the customer and I'm on the let's get the material in and not the let's get it out. So yeah, that's what I do in my supply chain roles. And currently I'm taking the CPIM. I'm studying for the CPIM, which is the Certification in Planning and Inventory Management Certificate from the Association of Supply Chain Management. I think it's global, but it's definitely a national certification. It's like the standard for supply chain. There's multiple certificates you can get. I just chose that one because I did a lot of research on Reddit, and people said the CPIM is a really good one for people who don't have a whole bunch of background yet in supply chain, but are trying to work to get there and show that they're serious to employers. And it's a way for you to get paid more in the future at future roles when you have a CPIM. So I'm reading it, and reading it has definitely like helped build my confidence because I did not come from a supply chain background. I majored in anthropology. I didn't do anything supply chain in college. It was only through the internship and the jobs I've had that I got exposed to supply chain. So I've had to learn everything from scratch. And the CPIM has really helped reaffirm some of the stuff I've learned and then teach me new things I had no clue about. Even though a lot of it does go over my head, like the planning stuff, like the demand planning stuff goes over my head a lot, it's still better that I've been introduced to it and see it at least once. Besides, instead of seeing it never, instead of never having seen it before. So yeah, I'm in the last chapter of my CPIM. I think I'll finish that this month, and then I'll start studying with studying for it. Well, I'm studying now by reading, but I'll start studying, like taking quizzes for it using this app called Pocket Prep. And Pocket Prep is something I heard about through Reddit again. Where it's an app where you can look up basically any standardized test in like the country or maybe the world, I'm not sure, it might be global, and they'll just create tests and quizzes for you to do based off of it daily. So I'm going to be doing that as my way of studying. The CPIM also does come with whenever you purchase the books, it comes with an online version of the books and online tests you can take. So I'll be taking those online tests. And it does cost money, I will say. This thing cost me about $2,000. That's just an estimation. It might have been a little bit more, a little less, maybe $2,400. And that was with the discount because I decided to become an Association of Supply Chain Management member. When you're a member, you have access to the different chapters, but I don't really have a chapter near me. It's kind of like weird distance, and so I'm not really involved in the chapter and trying to do anything, which that might be a mistake. Maybe I should like try to network, but yeah. And like technically you can take this course as it can be self-taught. So for me it's a self-taught course, and so I just use the books and read at my own pace, but you can also do an instructor-led version. But I found that would be a little bit more complicated and it cost more money to set up. It was a little bit more complicated to set up and it cost more money. So I was just like, I don't know, I don't want to do this and then get confused and then it not have been worth it. So I'm just going to self-study. And I think most people do elect to self-study. And CPIM and like all the certifications you can get through the Association of Supply Chain Management are certifications that most people would say you should wait for an employer to offer to pay for it for you. I think that's great if you can, but you know, in this time period, in this job market, I was struggling to find an employer to employ me. So I just had to take the leap myself and spend my own money to purchase the course and take it. And you get 2 attempts at taking the test, which is great because what if you fail the first time? I really hope this talk helped introduce you to supply chain. I hope giving that my experience on it kind of just like showed you an option that you have for a career. To learn more, I say go to Supply Chain Reddit. I say find books in the local bookstores that you can read. Look up on Reddit what books people are reading in supply chain. And if you ever meet someone who's in it, just ask them about it. You don't really find like day in my life YouTube videos in supply chain. You usually find like day in my life tech videos and tech videos on YouTube. So it's kind of hard to like research supply chain, and you really just have to get in it like randomly. I think a lot of people got into it randomly.